And we're going to start off talking about Facebook's F8 Developer Conference. Day 2 kicked off today with a company keynote presentation that was focused on the futuristic technologies that Facebook is working on. It's all a lot of stuff that's basically at least a few years off. Facebook has a division called Building 8, which works on experimental and further off technologies. And they said that all of this is really kind of about building the future of technology, and Facebook thinks it has a good vision for where it's all going. Now, one of the things that stuck out to us that they're working on here is some sensor technology that uses your skin to send signals to your brain, basically using your skin to hear the world around you. Now, Facebook said that this could possibly someday let deaf people hear and even translate languages in near real time for those who can. This is something that various medical and tech researchers have been working on for decades now, and Facebook has decided to dip its toe into this effort. The Building 8 group is also theorizing and coming up with concepts that would use electrodes in your brain that would let you type by thinking rather than moving your fingers around. And they even said that this process, if it ever can become a reality, would be actually quicker than typing with your hands. And it would allow people who are immobile to actually type as well. Now, these are a couple ideas that are definitely for the future, and they didn't have any technology to show off there in person yet, things that people could test out, but there are a couple ideas that are a bit more tangible and a little bit closer. Facebook demoed a camera app that it says uses artificial intelligence to blur photo backgrounds in real time, something that Apple and Google smartphone camera apps are doing through software after a photo is taken, not in real time. And Facebook is also developing a helicopter that could be used to provide internet access in the aftermath of disasters that knock out the internet infrastructure locally. So there's a lot going on here. Pretty interesting. The day 1 keynote was really about what developers should spend their energy on developing now. AR, VR, chatbots. Now this is all at least 10 years away, if not further out. What do you think? Was this a good collection of stuff to share with the world for a day 2 keynote?
Yeah, I mean, I think lifting the veil on Building 8 is a big deal. It was very secret there. And here's a cocktail party fact for you. Maybe you know this. Building 8 is called Building 8 because of the amount of letters in Facebook. 8.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay.
Maybe a Jeopardy fact. If you win Jeopardy with that question, you owe me. Regina Dugan, who of course was at Google's ATAP, which was a similar, like their version of Building 8. Now she's at Facebook.
And she used to be a director of DARPA, basically the United States government, like technology skunkworks division. So she's used to these kind of teams.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's really interesting. I mean, when you first say it, it's like, oh, I'm going to hear through my skin and type with my brain. Like you want to make fun of it. We all do. But, when you think about the fact that it is really helping people who can't type, people who, just helping people do things they couldn't. Accessibility. It's offering accessibility, and that's fantastic. And yes, it's very far into the future. I think we're in, I heard Kara Swisher talking about this, we're in this like weird place with technology where there's the big 5, there's Facebook, there's Google, there's Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, these big companies that all started small. They were all like the underdogs, and now they're all big. And so we, like in Silicon Valley, we like this David and Goliath story, but there's no, there's no little guys anymore. It's only the big guys. And so we tend to hear this, like the big guys saying like, I'm going to do some things, I'm going to do, these fantastic things. And, we tend to be like, you're, of course, you're Facebook. You can do anything.
Of course you are.
Right.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I think part of what's happening here is that the little guys, they get bought up by the big guys before they get the chance to become a household name or even launch a product, right? So all the stuff that Facebook talked about today in its day 2 keynote, all really kind of the sort of thing you'd see in a science fiction book. But these are things that companies, that researchers, that scientists have been working on for literally decades. None of this is an original idea by Facebook, but it's all the sort of thing that Google and Facebook and all these other companies are working on. And those little guys who've been working on that for a long time, some of those companies are getting bought up. And that's how companies are building up their AR divisions, building up their VR divisions. For example, Elon Musk, he just started his startup to focus on basically putting electrodes into your brain to meld AI with brain control and these sorts of things. So in some sense, that could be considered a little guy because they're a company that's just getting started, but that's coming from Elon Musk. Deep pockets, lots of resources, and a big brand name. So yeah, it's a really interesting time and idea here. To a certain extent, this is all kind of vaporware because there's nothing that we can touch or try or see for ourselves yet. A lot of this is super conceptual, but it's kind of exciting to see all of these big companies chasing these really big, really complicated, world-changing problems. If they can actually pull this sort of stuff off, it would be a lot more exciting than, you know, another Snapchat filter or something, right?
Yeah, and I mean, it's like the moonshots take money, right? Like you couldn't just be like you and I in our garage, like, let's figure out a way to hear things through our skin and, you know, let's just tinker until we do it. No, like these are big ideas that you need tons of money. So it makes sense. It's the evolution of Silicon Valley. Like, you know, they've made Snapchat and, you know, or Facebook in this case. Now they have a ton of money to do these things to change the world. You know, that's a cliche, but, you know, it might.
But that's always the rhetoric that you hear from any of these companies is we are going to change the world. We're going to make the world better. And I got to say, while we're talking about all of these super exciting technologies, we also need to talk about the fact that Facebook, like Google and like lots of other companies out there, they pay their bills by selling ads, by collecting data on who we are and what we do, and then targeting ads against that. They're basically a data and an advertising company. But these sorts of concepts, these sorts of ideas, when they talk about them, they're there in part to kind of build up the idea that, hey, Facebook or Google or, you know, whoever is on stage talking about themselves, they want the world to see them as a company that is making the world a better place, or at least trying to, and creating these sorts of technologies that might make you feel a little bit better about sharing all of this really sensitive data with them. Because if they're going to pull this sort of stuff off, you know, they not only need to keep those other bills paid, but they have to collect this sort of data to build these sorts of things. These aren't the sort of things that you can, like you said, build in a garage. You have to have treasure troves of information to build on.
Right.